All right, welcome back to the Orange Bloods Texas football YouTube channel. Texas OU week, OU Texas. Visiting with Eddie Radosevich, Sooner Scoop. What's up, Eddie? How are you?
All right, what's going on, man? It's best week of the year in my opinion. It's always kind of just like it didn't feel right a year ago when the weirdness of no fair and everything like that. So it's good to be back into the flow of it.
Yeah, so I'm assuming with a full fair this year, full stadium, horns up for peace then, and full effect.
Oh yeah, it's going to be in full effect come Saturday. It's going to be a fun weekend though. It's something that we've been going to for seems like forever now, and going up and going with my parents and stuff like that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, the horns up for peace is always it's a lifestyle. It's not just a yearly thing.
That's right. Remember, it's a gateway hands. It's a gateway hand symbol. Once you start doing that, who knows what's next?
It's a gateway gesture, and we're just trying to save lives. That's right.
All right. So, what stands out to you about this game this year?
I mean, probably just the fact that I was listening to Catch and Anwar's kind of their spiel on YouTube about it. It's like this is the first time in a long time it feels like this game is very, very easy going in, and it's kind of weird that you ask Oklahoma fans about what they have going into the game, and you would think that Oklahoma's 1-4 and everything's been held over the last couple of years.
Right.
And then on the flip side, it's Casey Thompson and kind of that angle, and I think a lot of Oklahoma fans obviously are familiar with the situation, and it just feels like these two teams kind of I don't know about like near each other by any means, but it's a very even game. And for the first time, you kind of go in knowing like you could make an argument for either side winning, and I'd probably listen to it and be like, yes, I can see that.
Yeah. So, what is the feeling from Oklahoma fans on Casey Thompson?
At least for the people that I talk to, I think that there's a sense of kind of appreciation. I don't think it's a sense of like, oh, he should have been at Oklahoma, or oh, he should have, he's not good enough to beat Oklahoma. I don't think there's anything like that. I think that there's certainly a sense of, he was a great kid. I covered him in high school at Southmore and then at Newcastle, obviously. Knew his older brother Kendall a little bit as well, and for me, I'm happy for the kid. I can't believe that he's starting at Texas now, and he's going to be starting in the Cotton Bowl. Like, I think if you would have told him that 10 years ago, it probably would have been for Oklahoma. But the way things have worked out, I couldn't be any more happy for him. I was happy for him just to get in the Alamo Bowl, let alone go into a week in which he's going to be starting against Oklahoma. So it's pretty cool. It has to be really cool for Charles and the entire family as well.
Yeah, weird, I would imagine too.
Yeah.
So Spencer Rattler, he's been polarizing, obviously. The calls for Caleb Williams. What has it been? What's the issue with Spencer, if there is one?
Yeah, I think that like from the outside looking in, it's like, what is Oklahoma fans talking about? Like he's leading the Big 12 passing right now. He's completing 76% of his passes. Even going into the week or into this weekend, he's completed 37 of his last 41 throws. So, like, there's not really a whole lot going bad or poorly. They're still averaging 38 points a game. But at the same time, like, if you watch every snap, if you watch every game like Oklahoma fans have, it's certainly not what they expected. It's certainly not what I think a lot of people have become used to watching when you watch the Lincoln Riley offense. And, it's not to say he hasn't been just elite. And I think that's probably his biggest gripe or the biggest criticism of him. At the same time, though, offensive line's been poor. He's been working with some wide receivers that, certainly probably haven't lived up to the billings that they thought they were going to be coming into the season. It's just kind of all been a work in progress. But at the same time, I think that, if you look at like the last 6 quarters, maybe even the last 5, and I know that's kind of unfair, but the last drive against West Virginia and then into the game against Kansas State, it seems like they've started to find something. And for anybody that has watched Lincoln Riley's offense and watched what Baker or Kyler or Jalen was able to do, it starts with running the football, and they haven't been able to do that. And offensive line wise, it hasn't been the full 5 grouping that I think a lot of people thought it would be, and it's taken some time, and it's always taken some time under Bill Bean and Bo. So They had 7 penalties in Manhattan last week as an offensive line unit. Tyrese Robinson got chewed out like I've never seen somebody get chewed out before. But if that comes together, I think that you'll start seeing the Spencer Rattler that a lot of people, kind of expected going into the year. And you can pick particular throws out too. It's like you can pick out particular throws. It's like there's the guy that a lot of people thought he was going to be. So it's been a little bit of everything. I'd say that, like, to answer your question, it's been a little bit of everything for him. But at the same time, there are shades of the guy that I think a lot of people thought was going to be, the number 1 player in the country and the guy that could win the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, it's funny because this week I've been talking about that touchdown pass to Mike Woods. This is a ridiculous throw. I mean, it was a ridiculous throw. And so I was like getting ready to tweet, like, talk dirt to me, OU fans. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to hear Caleb's name.
You know what? Don't anger the Twitter fan base of OU fans, because you'll catch their wrath. I think there's an overlapping of the people that booed him against West Virginia that love to get busy on Twitter as well.
Right. And so it was like, I saw that throw and I was like, oh my God, like, that's ridiculous. And then right as I was about to tweet it, like, next possession, he throws the pick. And it's like, well, I'm glad I didn't say anything.
Yeah, it's been a lot of like, oh, that's great. Oh, that's great. And then, oh my God, how could he do that? Or, and I think that in a way, like, he hasn't kind of, and this is off-field stuff, but he hasn't really necessarily endeared himself like a Baker did. Kyler, it kind of came in and was more of this guy's a legend from Texas high school football. You just kind of learned to live with it. And then Jalen just kind of was like in between of both of those guys. And,
yeah, great point.
This is just, it's been kind of a weird, rocky road, but at the same time, it's like the guys also won 12, 13 games in a row. They haven't lost in a full calendar year going into this. So it's like there's so much like negativity out there. And I think it's because we as media or the fan base kind of built this team up into this like, this was going to be the team that got over the hump for Oklahoma. And even though they're 5-0 at the same time, it's like, it hasn't been as pretty as a lot of people thought it was going to be. And so there's a point of almost contention and a point of like disappointment if you can be disappointed at 5-0. So that's what makes this game so weird, because I think that, or I guess so fascinating and intriguing, because there is a sense of like, I think that there's a lot of Oklahoma fans who feel like this could be a turning point in the season if they are able to win it. And then it kind of sets up that back half of the schedule to go kind of prove what wasn't there for the first half.
Yeah. And I saw you retweet the stat. I think it was like first down passing, where it was like, it's 6 yards a throw, which is not great, but like, comparatively, like, this is a offense that is walking on water in years past. I mean, 12 yards a throw, like, just ridiculous. So it's almost just by comparison, it's so hard to win at that level every year. Yeah.
And like, it just like, I remember we would, I'd do like radio hits and stuff when Baker was here, or Jalen or Tyler even. And it's like, what they're putting up and what they do week in and week out, it just became so normal for people to watch on Saturday. I remember screaming, like, this is not normal. Like, do not get used to this. And then they kept doing it year after year, whether it was 17 or 18 or 19. And it's obviously taken a step back. And I think that, it starts up front, obviously, with this offensive line group. It just hasn't been like that 2018 team that won the Joe Moore Award up front. And, they're still putting up numbers. I think there's a lot of people across the country that would be happy with 38 points per game, like 122 yards a game. And it's like, oh my God, what's wrong with this offense? And it's just, it's hard to kind of like wade through like what is wrong with this offense when you're like, well, it's not historical, but at the same time, they're still doing pretty good. So it's just been weird. And he's kind of been a product and like the center of it. And obviously everybody kind of, the blame goes to the quarterback all the time. And for the first time in a long time, it's like, there were whispers after the West Virginia game of like, oh my God, it's just Lincoln need to go hire an offensive coordinator. It's like, oh God, like this is where we are right now.
Yeah, the rest of the country's like, yeah, definitely, absolutely, hire an offensive coordinator.
Exactly.
Is the strength of this team the defensive line?
Yeah. Very much so. And I think that when you talk about Obviously going into Saturday and trying to stop Bijan Robinson, which is going to be an incredibly tough task. You look at what Oklahoma's been able to do against the run. Carry-on Winfrey's kind of led that group, but at the same time, you have Isaiah Thomas or Isaiah Coe or Joshua Ellison or Jordan Kelly. It's like they are deep on the defensive line, and I think that's kind of where everything starts for Oklahoma defensively. That's a group that, at times it's been weird to say has probably not generated as much pass rush as you would expect from that group. But at the same time, like when they've needed to, kind of dial it back and get after the quarterback, they've been able to do it. So it starts up front with that team. Obviously they feel like they have a good recipe for trying to stop Bijan going into Saturday, but that's obviously a lot easier said than done. I think it's going to be extremely tough, but they can't fall back on one thing, and that they haven't allowed they've allowed 100-yard rusher in the last 18 games, and obviously that was pretty solid in Iowa State.
Yeah, no, it's been an incredible number, and it's gonna be interesting to see if that stays up in this game, because this series recently, within the last decade, it's been whoever's run the ball more effectively has won the game. And on paper, that's like, well, Texas will win.
Sure.
But Texas's offensive line is a struggle, kind of like you mentioned, mirrors similar teams. Mm-hmm. And it's an even bigger problem against Oklahoma's defensive front. Oh, and by the way, Oklahoma has 25 tackles for loss in this game the last 2 years.
It's it's kind of weird. Like I don't have any evidence to point to this, but it feels like they've been more aggressive in the Texas game. I don't know if Alex Grinch would ever come out and say that, but it kind of goes back to I think it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago when they had the 9 or 10 sacks in the game, and he was bringing safeties down and doing things that you just don't really normally see from Oklahoma, or at least from Alex Grinch, who's for the most part, I guess conservative would be the right word, but at times I feel like they have been more aggressive in this game, and they're going to have a big day. I think that, there's been a point of contention here over the last week. It was the tackling on the defensive side of the ball. They were not very good in Manhattan. Goose Vaughn gave them headaches and some. So, if I'm, and I'm certainly not telling out Steve Sarkisian to call his offense, but I would literally attack their linebackers every down until they prove that they can stop.
Well said. Are you picking Oklahoma to win this game?
Right now I am. If you caught me in like 30 minutes, I'd probably say Texas, and then like 45 minutes later, I'd probably tell you Oklahoma again. I think that's kind of proof. That goes back to your first question, though. It's like this is a game that it truly could come down to the key elements of every OU Texas: running the football, special teams. Who's going to make that play? Is it going to be a Shipley return, or is it going to be an Alex Ross return, or whatever it may be? In years past, and then obviously it's a turnover battle. Who's going to win that? I think that both quarterbacks, they could be fooled into making mistakes, but who's going to take advantage of that? And that's what it usually comes down to.
One of my favorite people, Eddie Radosevich, Sooner Scoop, and the franchise OKC. You're the best, buddy. Thank you.
You bet. I appreciate it. Anytime. Look forward to it.